When it comes to options trading, there are literally hundreds of different strategies that you can choose from. Many of the more complex strategies are really just simpler strategies that have been combined. For example, an iron condor is really just a put credit spread and a call credit spread at the same time. A put ratio spread is really just a short naked put plus a put debit spread at the same time. And today I wanted to talk to you about a couple of these kind of more complex strategies. I want to talk to you about the super bull and the super bear. So the super bull and the super bear strategies, what these are, we're selling options in order to buy debit spreads. What the super bull is, it's a call debit spread, but I don't want to have to pay for it. So I'll sell a put to finance the purchase of the call debit spread. The super bear is similar. It is a put debit spread, but I finance it by selling a short call. Let me show you the risk profile. Let's start with the super bull. So the super bull is a combination of an at the money call debit spread and a short put. And it doesn't necessarily have to be at the money. You could do an in the money or out of the money spread. But with debit spreads, call debit spreads and put debit spreads, the most common way most traders put these on is right at the money, where you're essentially straddling where the stock is currently trading. It's typically a 50-50 coin flip kind of trade, right? A call debit spread is you're bullish on the stock and typically you're risking one to make one. It's a 50-50 coin flip kind of trade. You have to pay a debit for this trade though. So what you could do, you sell a put. You sell a put to receive a credit. If you receive enough credit to more than make up for the purchase of the call debit spread, then it's an overall total net credit on the trade. And it also means that you can't actually lose on the trade as long as the underlying stock does not fall below your short put. Now, if it starts falling below your short put, you are opened up to potentially unlimited risk to the downside. Now, if the stock finishes above your short put, you can make a little money because you received a little bit of a credit on the trade, but just a little. Again, you weren't really trying to make money on the short put. The short put was here mainly to finance the purchase of the call debit spread, and this is really where you make your money. Again, it's more of a 50-50 kind of coin flip kind of a trade, right? You were betting that the stock would go higher. 50% of the time it will, 50% of the time it won't. But if you get lucky on the call debit spread and you get it right, then of course you're going to get the max reward on the trade. What is the max reward? Well, the max reward on a super bull and a super bear, for that matter, they're easy to calculate because all you need to know is the width of the spread. So in this case, it's a $5 wide spread. That would be $500. You take the $500 and then you add the total credit received on the trade. So if I received 50 cents credit total for putting on the three options together, then I would take the $5 spread plus 50 cents. My max reward on the trade would be $550 would be the max reward. Let me actually show you this in action. Let me go ahead and switch over to my trading platform, and I'm going to pull up an options chain for Apple. I'm going to go into the 47 DTE cycle, and let me go ahead and put on a garden variety call debit spread. So I'm going to buy that option and sell that option. So you can see I did this call debit spread right at the money, where the long option and the short option, they're straddling at the money. And then in this example, I'm going to pay a debit of $286 for a max profit of $214. $286 plus $214 equals $500, right? Because it's a $5 spread. So these amounts always have to equal the width of the spread. So in this case, this call debit spread would cost me $286 as a debit, but I don't want to pay that debit. Well, what I could do is I could go sell a put, and as long as the put I sell receives a credit greater than $286, then I'll receive a credit overall on the trade. So let me go sell a put where I get a credit of at least $286. Well, the furthest one out I could go is the 25 delta. I'd receive about a 305 credit on the trade or so. But you can see now total credit on the trade is 19 cents. So that more than paid for that $286 debit that I would have had to pay with the call debit spread by itself. If I go to the analysis, you can see the risk profile looks very similar to what I showed you in my slideshow. As long as the stock doesn't fall below the 210 short put here on expiration, I'll essentially break even in this example. I make a little bit, but it's essentially a break even trade. But again, you're not really trying to make money. You can't really make a whole lot of money in this area between the short put and the long call. Where you really make your money, of course, is above the short call. It's actually the call debit spread that you're really betting on. You're betting on the stock going higher. That's why you wanted the call debit spread in the first place, right? It's a very kind of bullish directional assumption trade. So you need the stock to go higher. And in this case, if the stock goes higher, what do I make? Well, I make the max reward. What is the max reward? Well, the width of the spread, $5, plus the total credit on the trade, 19 cents. So the max reward in this case is $519. So that is the Super Bull. Let's talk about the Super Bear, because the Super Bear is essentially just like the Super Bull, except it's in reverse. We're doing a bearish trade instead of a bullish trade. A Super Bear is a combination of an at-the-money put debit spread in combination with a short call to again finance the purchase of that put debit spread. Now, ideally, the sale of the call should pay for the put debit spread, giving us a credit, an overall credit on the trade. And in this case, the max reward is the put debit spread with plus the credit received. So it's very similar to what we did with the Super Bull. Or if you receive a debit on the trade, if you actually pay a debit on the trade, what it is, it's the width of the spread, the put debit spread, minus the debit you paid overall on the trade. But typically, the way you should put these on, always make sure you receive a little bit of a credit. That way you still have a little bit of a profit area between the short call and your long put spread. Where the Super Bull had unlimited risk to the downside because of the short naked put, the Super Bear has unlimited risk to the upside due to the short naked call. And let me give you an example of a Super Bear trade. So once again, let me go back to my trading platform. I'll use Apple once again. This time I will do the Super Bear. So I'm going to do a long put and a short put. I'm going to straddle right here at the money. This is a put debit spread, but I don't want to pay, in this case, $2.75 debit for this $5 wide put debit spread. Well, let me sell a call that is going to receive a credit of at least $2.75. So let me find the 28 Delta call here. I'm going to receive a credit somewhere around $3.25 or $3.30. If I sell that call, it pays for the put debit spread. Now, overall, I receive a 53-cent credit on the trade. If I go to the analysis and look at this Super Bear in this case, you can see I have unlimited risk to the upside if the stock rises above my short naked call, but as long as it only rises to the short naked call and finishes below it at expiration, I still can receive a tiny little profit on the trade because overall the trade was put on for a credit. But really, just like the Super Bull is really a bullish trade, the Super Bear is really a bearish trade. Really what I want is I need the stock to actually go down. I'm betting that the stock is going down. This is a strong bet. That's why it's called a Super Bear. Same thing with the Super Bull. The super part means, hey, I'm really bullish or I'm really bearish. So the Super Bear here, again, to make the max reward, to make any real reward, I need this trade to go down. What's the max reward? Well, it's the spread with $5 plus the credit received on the trade, 53 cents in this case. $553 in this case would be the max profit on this trade. So there you have it, a little bit about the Super Bull and the Super Bear. A couple of other things we need to briefly mention. Let's talk a little bit about the characteristics of these rather unique trading strategies. So with both the Super Bull and the Super Bear strategies, if you're putting these things on as I've described them for an overall credit, they're going to have one break-even point. The break-even point, for example, here in the Super Bear, the break-even point is right here. It's going to be the call strike in this case, plus the credit received. So that is your break-even point. It's very similar to how you'd calculate like a break-even point on just a standard short naked call. Same thing with the Super Bull. The Super Bull, the break-even point is going to be right below your short put, and it's going to be the short put strike minus the credit received, the overall credit received on the trade. So that's your break-even point. Also, you need to know these trades are very directional, hence the super part of their names, right? That's why they're called the Super Bull. That's why it's called the Super Bear. You're combining, in this case, two long delta strategies in the case of the Super Bull. So short put is a long delta strategy. A call debit spread is a long delta strategy. It's two together. It's twice the long deltas, hence the Super Bull. Same thing with the Super Bear, right? The Super Bear is two short delta strategies in that you have the short call a short delta strategy, and the put debit spread, a short delta strategy. You have twice the short deltas, hence the super bear. Both the Super Bull and the Super Bear, they're also short Vega trades, meaning we would prefer volatility to decrease during the life of the trade. And this is because they have that short naked option component. Short naked options, they benefit from a decrease in volatility. An increase in volatility would actually hurt us on the trade due to that short naked option. And then finally, people are going to ask about a use case for the Super Bull or Super Bear strategy. Well, you need to find underlyings that have a positive expectancy when it comes to overall bullish strategies or overall bearish strategies. A perfect example, the Super Bull could be useful on index products like SPY or the ES futures. And the reason is the S&P 500 has that positive drift to it. Bullish strategies typically always have positive expectancy in that thing. So something like Super Bull should be perfect in something like SPY or the ES, because short puts have a nice positive expectancy on SPY. Call debit spreads also have a bit of positive expectancy on SPY. So the combination of the two, the Super Bull, should also work well in a product like SPY. And if you're trading a product that tends to go down over time, you know, that typically bearish trades typically work most of the time, then that's probably where you would want to imply something like the Super Bear. So there you have it. This is the Super Bull and the Super Bear, two rather unique strategies that really don't get talked a lot about as far as options trading circles. These are not two of the most common strategies at all. They're kind of a little off the wall, but you know, you got to start thinking about some of these more complex strategies. And naturally, the more you trade, you're going to come up with some of these kinds of strategies on your own. Typically, like these strategies, people sometimes talk about they invented a strategy. There's not an option strategy out there that you're going to invent that somebody else hasn't figured out before, because other people sit around and think of these things. There have been a million people that have sat around thinking, man, I want to buy this call debit spread, but I don't want to pay for it. Let me sell a put to buy the call debit spread. You know, that's you'll come up with these things on your own the more you grow as an options trader. Now, if you want to learn more about options trading, and specifically my favorite options trading strategy, which is the wheel strategy, check out my book, The Super Wheel Option Strategy, available on Amazon. You'll find a link to this book in the description below. And if you want to help support this channel, please consider subscribing to the DT Options Discord server. I hold a 1-hour live voice chat there each and every trading day, where I share my trading platform. I show you guys the trades I'm making, the opening trades, the closing trades, anything that needs to be rolled. All you guys can share what you're doing with your trading. We have a nice little trading community there, and we'd love to have you. Peace, guys.